Hello guys, this is Blastoise here from EXG Gaming, and today we are going to present you with another item guide. So for this item guide we are going to cover another observer champ, which is the Peura. So basically Peura is pretty good right now, she's pretty much in the meta right now, and in the coming season for the Indian server she's going to be a very viable support hero. So in this item guide we are going to cover some of the major aspects of the Peura and the changes that came to her in this patch. And we are also going to discuss about the arcanas and the item build that you are going to use for this champion, and then we're going to show you a funny gameplay regarding the champion. So basically the changes that came to this observer champ, the first one is the passive. Okay, so when Peura takes damage, she counterattacks and deals 200 plus 100% of AP magic damage to the attacker and slows their movement speed by 90% for 1 second, and this effect only triggers once every 10 seconds. So basically what it means, if you're going to attack Peura after every 10 seconds, so she's going to give you some magic damage in return, and then your movement speed is going to get reduced by 90% for 1 second. So this is the passive, this is the change in the passive that is making Peura pretty good in the current meta. And the first skill, the healing light. So basically Peura uses healing magic to restore some of the HP for herself and nearby friendly heroes. Also increases attack speed by 25% for 3 seconds. So not only you'll get healing from this skill, it will also help your teammates and your allies sustain during the team fights. Also it will give you attack speed for a few seconds. So it is pretty good for the if the Peura is peeling protecting the marksman of the team, so that is pretty good. That provides a pretty good buff for the marksman as well. Now comes the second skill, which is known as the forest sentry. So in this skill the Peura throws an owl at the in a specified direction. So those owls they bounce back and hit each other up to 6 times, and they stun the target that they have hit. So if a single target gets hit by more than 1 or 2 times, then that target is stunned for that duration. Now comes the final, the ultimate, Nature's Rally. So basically what it does, it creates a zone. Okay, if your allies are inside the zone, they get a huge amount of armor reduction, while if the enemies are in the zone, they take some amount of magic damage every second, plus their movement speed is reduced for a certain duration of time as well. So this is pretty much what the Peura kit has right now, and I think she's going to be a very good support champ in the coming season, and she's a very strong observer champ right now. She's even stronger than some of the favorite picks like Alice, Grak, Lumber or maybe some other observer champ that you play in the role. So now we are going to cover the arcanas for this champion. So basically for arcana, for all the mage supports, I use basically the same arcana: 10x Enlightened, 10x Benovalence, and 10x Focus. So why we are using Focus here, because Peura has to use a first skill again and again to give healing to the allies, help them sustain during the team fight. So cooldown is pretty important start for some champion like Peura, or it could be Alice as well. So focus is pretty important, 10x focus, so that gives you 10% cooldown reduction from the very beginning of the game. So now we are going to cover the item guide. So we have 3 item builds. First of all, the standard build, and now I'm going to give you the reason and explanation behind every one of them. The first one is the flashy boots. I told you, cooldown reduction is a pretty important stat for Peura. So if you combine the 10% arcanas from the 10% cooldown from the arcanas and 15% from the flashy boots, so it comes out to be 25%, so which is pretty good. Now the second item is going to be the essence of the wind. The reason we are making this item is because it gives some amount of mana regeneration. It gives you plus 15 mana every 5 seconds, which is pretty good. Plus it gives you a lot of golden experience when you are when your allies kill nearby minions and monsters. Plus the active of this item is pretty good. The active gives that grants a shield that absorbs 800 plus hero level into 80 damage. So the active of this item is pretty good. Okay, now the third item will be the virtues necklace. Now this item gives you 160 ability power, which is pretty good. With your passive, it is going to help you deal some amount of ability power damage to the enemies. Then it gives you 10% cooldown speed. If you combine 15% from flashy boots, 10% from the virtues necklace, and 10% from your arcana, so that comes out to be 35%, and that the cap is around 40%. So in the very early stages of the game, you will have 30% cooldown reduction, which is a big plus. Now the most important core item which I'd say in the which you need to make on Peura is the Mail of Pain. So the reason behind Mail of Pain is that the passive returns some sort of a damage. So if you have this item, then your passive is going to deal a much more amount of damage. And like in the current meta, like marksmen are pretty good. Like we have lots of bans in our rank system, like people are banning like Slims, Violet, Lindy. So this basically they are targeting all the marksman heroes. So like Mail of Pain is pretty good counter to marksman hero as well. The second last item will be the Shield of the Lost because of its passive. It reduces the attack speed of the nearby enemies by 30%. So like it will help your team get a grip of the team fights by reducing the attacking speed of the enemies. Then last item in this build will be the Blade of Eternity. So like this build like it doesn't have any sort of a magic resistance or any sort of resistance to magic damage. So like there are chances that in the late game you quickly get burst on by the enemy mage, but I don't think it will be possible because of your first kill and your ultimate that you have, but still it's good to make this item in the last. Now we are going to come to the second build, which is the most important crucial build, and it is called as the Shredding Lifesteal build. So like as the name suggests, the Shredding Lifesteal build helps you shed the lifesteal of the enemy team. Suppose if enemy team is having champions like Merja, KillGroth or Lauriel, so this kind of build is pretty good. Now I'll tell you the build again. First of all, we'll be building the flashy boots for the cooldown speed. Then we are gonna make the Essence of the Wind for the mana regeneration every 5 seconds and for the passive. Now the third item will be the Tome of the Reaper. Now I'm going to tell you about Mail of Pain and Gas Standard later on, but first of all I'm going to tell you about the Tome of the Reaper and the Zweihander. So like the basic reason behind making these two items is because first of all they give you ability damage. So you will be able to do damage with your second skill, with your passive and with your ultimate. Now let's read into the stats of Tome of the Reaper. Like on dealing damage, reduces target HP regeneration by 50% for 1.5 seconds, right? If this is triggered by normal attacks, the duration is extended to 3 seconds. So basically like if you are going to use your ability and then the lifesteal of the enemy is going to be reduced up to some certain amount, okay? But if you keep attacking the same guy with the normal attack, then the duration is extended to 3 seconds. Now we are going to come to the passive of Zweihander. So like normal attack gains additional magic damage equal to 20% of the hero's ability, okay? That's fine, but the important passive over here is that normal attack hit increases the attack speed of 50% for 4 seconds, right? So like if you combine these two items, so like you will be able to do attack like your normal attacks much faster, and that will also help you proc the passive of Tome of the Reaper. So like this item set is basically going to help you counter the enemies in the opponent team which are having making tons of lifesteal items. So like this is a pretty good build, a pretty good combo of items that you can make to counter the champion that are going to make tons of lifesteal or going to do tons of lifesteal like Lubu, KillGroth, Merja, etc., Lauriel, etc. So these two items are pretty important and pretty good together. They sync very well and like they have a pretty good synergy with each other. Now the Mail of Pain for the same reason to return some sort of magic damage after receiving normal attacks. And like in this build also you can see like we are pretty low on magic defense, okay? So in the end, we instead of making Blade of Eternity, we are going to go for Gaia Standard because it will give you the magic defense, the maximum health that you need, and the movement speed, which is pretty important as well, okay?
I am who I'm meant to be. Over and out again. My future needed clarity, so I could see how you react, how you'd react to me. So much differently. I am different. Every time that I look back.
Okay, now we are going to come to the third build, which is the final build, which is the damage plus sustain build, okay? So like the passive deals a good amount of damage. Your first skill heals you, your second skill deals some amount of damage, and your ultimate deals some amount of damage. So like keep considering all that we are going to make this damage plus sustain build. The first item will be the flashy boots for the cooldown. The second item will be the Essence of the Wind for the same passive and for the mana regeneration. The third item will be the Virtuous Necklace, okay? So like the good thing about this item is like it helps you give 30 mana every 5 seconds, and like it has some sort of magic pace plus ability power and cooldown speed as well, which is pretty good. Then the Mail of Pain, to sustain some sort of physical attacks and to return magic damage to the attacker. Now comes the Frosty Revenge. So like the good thing about this, like it will give you movement speed, it will give you ability power, but like whenever you are going to land your second skill, and it is going to bounce like reflect and bounce back from the different enemies that are in its range. So like that, it's going to proc the passive of Frosty Revenge for all the enemies that are going to be hit. Like it will not proc the passive for just one guy who is getting hit by the stun for the like in the first position, but like it is going to proc its passive for all the 5 or 4 or maybe whatever or how many number of enemies are going to get hit by the second skill of the Peura. So this item is pretty good. And the last item will be Holy of Holies, because it's going to give you a lot of ability power and it's going to give you a maximum health of 1400. So like if you combine the ability power with this build, it's going to be pretty good. Plus you have 10x Enlightened Arcanas that are going to do a big amount of that are going to give you a big amount of boost of magic damage in the early game. And with the complete build, you are going to do tons of ability damage. Like there are some cases when you will even be doing more damage, magic damage, than your mage or maybe the enemy mage. So like this item build is also pretty good, but like this item build needs you to have a very good skill level to execute in actual games or rank games or maybe tournament games. But I think this build is also very viable. So like in the other section of the video, we are going to show you a gameplay of Peura with some funny moments in it, like it's from the from an old video, but like I'm sure you're going to enjoy it. So like let me know like which hero should I cover in the next video, and like let me know and give you feedback about the item guides that I've been making so far. So guys, just let me know and keep liking, sharing, and keep supporting the channel like that.
Download and play now. Arena of Valor.